Welcome to Wisdom Unveiled. This is our deep dive, episode 19 of 40, and today we're really immersing ourselves, just focusing entirely on the poetry and philosophy of Hafez Shirazi.
That's right. And we're basing this exploration purely on those fascinating conversations with Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani, the Iranian philosophers featured in the Marifat audio series.
Yeah, specifically we're pulling from two files today, 12907 Mordad 1390.mp3, and the one titled epo-sheech.wave.
Indeed. Rich material there.
Absolutely. And just a quick note for everyone listening, this is based on translation, so inevitably some of the, let's say, finer points or nuances from the original Persian might not come across perfectly in English.
It's always tricky translating such deep philosophical thought.
It really is. So we apologize in advance if there are any small discrepancies. We welcome feedback, of course.
But the core ideas, I think, still shine through powerfully.
Definitely. And it's interesting, the context for that second file, the Enakesh Ki, apparently that discussion happened around the time of the celebration of Imam Zaman's birth.
Yes. And the philosophers themselves mention how that timing sort of added another layer, another lens for interpreting Hafez.
Gives it a particular resonance, doesn't it?
It does.
So for today's deep dive, we're doing something quite focused. We're going to explore in depth just the first two lines of a single ghazal by Hafez.
Just two lines. That might sound minimal, but honestly, with Hafez, well, you can find whole worlds in just a couplet.
Exactly. That's the mission here, to really unpack the layers, the philosophical and mystical ideas packed into these two specific lines.
So what's the first line we're looking at?
Okay, the first line from the sources is Fel Sheshkiai.
Geshkia. You still hold you. Not shit. Fkratasa. Keske.
Givkincha. And a rough sort of working translation would be something like, whoever has a passionate heart for your green line will not step outside this circle as long as they exist.
Okay, passionate heart. Green line. This circle. Lots to unpack there already. And the second line.
Right. The second line, and there was a slight correction noted in the source material, is actually Eishyokie inyo Eisha yogyo. Eisho yokie. Eisho yeshogie inyo ye.
Got it. And the translation for that one?
Roughly. When I rise from the dust of the grave, speechless like a tulip, the burning desire for you will be a secret within my heart.
Wow. Okay. Powerful stuff. So let's start with that first line, that image. Your green line, Khat-e Sabz. What's the initial, maybe more literal meaning the philosophers discussed?
Well, the starting point they mentioned, and it's very visual, is that Khat-e Sabz literally refers to the very first signs of a beard appearing on a young man's face. You know, that soft fuzz.
Right. The downy hair, a symbol of youth, that transition into maturity.
Exactly. Very tangible. But knowing Hafez,
it's never just the literal meaning, is it?
Rarely. So the color Sabz green. What does green immediately bring to mind, beyond the beard context?
Well, nature, obviously. Plants, growth, springtime, vitality, new life, that kind of energy.
Yes, and that connection to life, to vitality, seems absolutely central here. The philosophers made a really interesting distinction. They talked about hayati masus versus hayati makul, or sometimes lodani.
Okay, break those down for us.
So hayati masus is basically our physical sensory life. The life we experience through our senses, the tangible world.
Got it. And the other one?
Hayati, Makol, or Ludani. That's more the intellectual life, the spiritual life, the life of consciousness, understanding, meaning. It's deeper.
Right. So the idea is that the physical greenness, like the young beard or plants, is actually a reflection, a manifestation.
Exactly. It's seen as a manifestation or maybe a reflection of that deeper, more fundamental spiritual or intellectual life force. It's not just biology.
Okay, I see. The physical is pointing towards something more profound.
Precisely. And this is where they brought in the figure of Khidr. Are you familiar with Khidr?
Yes, the green one. Always associated with the water of life, Abi Hayat, immortality, deep spiritual knowledge. A very enigmatic figure.
That's him, Al-Khidr. So, if we connect this green line to Khidr, what does that do to the meaning?
Wow, okay. It elevates it massively, doesn't it? It's not just about fleeting youth anymore. It's suddenly about, well, timeless spiritual vitality, eternal life, the kind of wisdom Khidr represents.
Exactly. It pushes it beyond the biological into the realm of the eternal, the spiritual.
And it doesn't stop there, I imagine?
No, the philosophers went further. They also interpreted this green line as a manifestation of al-Haq.
The truth, God, essentially, in this Sufi context.
Right. So all the beauty, all the life we see, it's like an expression, a sign pointing back to that ultimate divine reality.
So God's life isn't static, it's active.
Yes, they use that phrase, hey fa'al alim, active and knowing. God is constantly creating, constantly involved. So the green line isn't just passive, it's a visible trace of that divine activity, a sign of God's presence and action in the world.
A visible trace. I like that. Makes it feel more immediate.
They even use an analogy, the reflection of the sakis, the cupbearer's face in a glass of wine.
Ah, okay.
The green line is like that reflection, fleeting maybe, but it gives you a glimpse of the source of that divine beauty.
So the world itself becomes a kind of mirror reflecting the divine.
In a sense, yes. And it's not dead matter either. Dr. Dinani really emphasized this. The whole cosmos is alive. It's all vibrating, constantly praising God. Everything has this divine life force.
Okay, so bringing it back to the line. Whoever has a passionate heart for your green line. That phrase, Dil Baste. Given all these layers, Khidr, divine life, al-Haq, what does passionate heart feel like now?
It feels incredibly deep. It's not just liking something. It's this intense, profound, almost consuming love or yearning. A yearning for that, for the divine life force, the truth that the green line symbolizes. A real connection.
Yeah, Del Baste implies being bound, tied to it. So this intense connection then leads to the second part. Will not step outside this circle as long as they exist. Sorry, in der dur nashavad. This circle in der, what's the circle?
It seems to be the circle of being itself, existence, Dayereh-ye Hasti, as they put it, staying within existence.
Is this related to those Sufi ideas about the arcs of descent from God and ascent back to God, that cycle?
Very much so, it seems. Existence as a journey out from and back to the source. So if you have that Del Basteji, that passionate connection to the green line.
Then staying within this circle means you endure, you persist.
Exactly. The phrase "takiyamat" until the resurrection suggests permanence. It means you don't fall out of existence, you're not annihilated, you remain within the fabric of true being. It guarantees a kind of eternal persistence.
Okay, that makes sense. Wow, and there was another layer too, wasn't there? Something about a dot.
Ah, yes, the mystical interpretation. They linked it to the no ayiba, the dot under the letter ba in Bismillah.
The primordial point, the origin of everything in creation, right? How does a point relate to a line and a circle?
Well, think geometrically. A line is like an extension, an unfolding of that single point. The point itself is dimensionless potential. The line is that potential made manifest.
So the line is like divine grace, emanation, madad or face, as they say.
Precisely. So the green line could also be seen as a trace of that fundamental divine oneness, the wadat, manifesting itself in the multiplicity of creation.
Another layer. It's incredible. And Hafez uses in Dayereh this circle. Why the emphasis on this?
Good point. It makes it immediate, doesn't it? Not some far-off abstract concept. It's this existence right here, right now.
Hamin ja, hamin hala, here and now.
Exactly. The philosophers talked about how all time, past, present, future, and all space, makan, is kind of concentrated in this present point of being. So this circle isn't somewhere else. It's the reality you're in right now.
So being connected to the green line anchors you in this all-encompassing reality, ensuring your eternal place within it.
That seems to be the idea. Now, Dr. Larijani also brought in another perspective from a Sufi commentator named Sayyid Bayan.
Okay.
He linked the green line to something called hayat-e wilayat.
Wilayat.
That's like spiritual authority, divine friendship, the path of the saints, the alamiyah.
Yes, exactly that. Guidance, closeness to God.
So in this interpretation, Sayyid Bayan suggests that the first thing to emerge from the extended shadow Zilli Mamdud, a complex cosmological idea, is the circle of wilayat.
Right.
And the green line then is seen as the banner, the parcham of that spiritual path, that divine authority.
Okay. So the green line as the flag of sainthood, almost.
Yeah.
In that case, who has the Del Basteji, the passionate heart, for that green line?
Well, according to this view, it would primarily be the insani kamil, the perfect human, the prophets, the saints themselves, those deeply embedded in that path of wilayat.
Which brings us right back around to Khidr, doesn't it?
It does. As the embodiment of the wali, the friend of God, representing that greenness, that life-giving water of spiritual knowledge, marifat nafs, self-knowledge.
It all ties together beautifully. So many dimensions in just one line.
Incredible, isn't it? Okay, let's move to the second line. When I rise from the dust of the grave, speechless like a tulip, shonzi kaki lahad kuzabaram golsan. How does this connect logically to the first?
Well, it seems like a confirmation or maybe a continuation.
Hmm.
Line 1 sets up this eternal connection within the circle of being.
Hmm.
Line 2 then says basically, and guess what? Even death doesn't break it. The kaki lahad, the dust of the grave, mortality itself, it can't sever that bond established through the dilbasteji.
Okay. And the image, speechless like a tulip, Gulsan. The tulip vala is huge in Persian poetry, right?
Yeah.
Especially that dark spot inside it.
Yes, the dag, that dark mark at the center. What's the usual symbolism of the dag?
It's often the mark of intense love, isn't it? Like a burned scar, the dag-ye sowda, the pain of separation, the burning desire for beloved.
Exactly. So rising from the grave, like a tulip, it means even though outwardly silent may be transformed, that inner dag, that burning core of love and longing, is still there. It persists internally.
A powerful image of something deeply felt that endures beyond the physical form.
Precisely. Which leads directly into the last part of the line. The burning desire for you will be a secret within my heart. Hamshinen darsare kare to bud sarmai suda.
Sowda again. That burning desire linking right back to the Delbaste, the passionate heart from line 1.
Exactly. And sar in this context, it often means the head, but also the secret, the innermost core. The philosophers mention the siyahaki kuchak, the little black spot, the absolute center of the qual, the spiritual heart.
So the very essence, the deepest secret.
Right. So the line is saying, this intense love, the Sowda, this burning connection to you, the divine beloved, remains the deepest, most intimate secret right at the core of my being, even after death, even in resurrection. It's fundamental.
It's not something acquired. It's intrinsic, enduring, a powerful statement about the nature of that love.
It really is. And to illustrate this continuity, the philosophers brought in a verse from Attar, another great mystic poet.
What was that?
Something like, which seed ever went into the earth that did not grow? Why then should you doubt this regarding the seed of man?
Beautiful. Using nature again. If a simple seed carries the potential for rebirth and growth, why doubt the continuity of the human spirit, especially one filled with this divine yearning?
It perfectly reinforces the idea. The connection made in life, line 1, absolutely persists beyond death, line 2. Hafez just weaves the sensory and the mystical, the zahir and the batin so seamlessly.
He really does. Just these 2 lines, they open up so much space for contemplation, don't they? About divine presence, about the power of this present moment, appearing, and what love and longing truly mean on a spiritual level.
And you see how looking deeper, beyond just the surface words, reveals these incredible layers of meaning. It really rewards that close reading.
It definitely encourages you to reflect on your own sense of connection, perhaps those deeper stirrings or yearnings within yourself.
So yeah, wrapping up this part of our deep dive, it's clear that even in just 2 lines, Hafez offers immense philosophical depth.
Truly remarkable. And maybe it leaves us and the listeners with a thought to ponder. How might the enduring nature of our own deepest spiritual feelings, our own sowda, connect us not just to each other, but to the whole web of life, to the divine itself?
A profound question. What possibilities might lie beyond what we currently grasp?
Exactly. Something to think about. Well, thank you for joining us on this particular exploration into Hafez.
Well, pleasure.
We've really only scratched the surface, even with this intense focus. We definitely encourage everyone to continue exploring Hafez's poetry on their own. There's always more to discover.